to Cleveland, you know. And I think LeBron even questioned that lottery back in the day. So, anyways, let's go to what we got coming up next. We got Coach Pollock coming in now, don't we?
I'm my partner.
Yeah, if he should be in the back.
DSGB, the Down South Georgia boy. DSGB. What up,
Fellas,
Coach?
what's up?
My partner.
Hey, I know this. Cooper Flag don't want to go to San Antonio because they ain't got but two things: churros and big women.
Hey, remember, it's some big women down there, Coach.
There's some big women in San Antonio, according to Charles Barkley.
Hey,
eat
man,
those
my
churros,
man,
Unc.
Coach Michael Pollock, special teams coordinator, Colorado football, and all-around assistant to anything that Coach Prime has needed since Coach Prime has been coaching college. So he's been with him since the Under Armour camps. Coach, man, welcome. You no stranger to the morning run, but welcome in. And big weekend this past Mother's Day weekend in Colorado. Big recruit visit. Changed the patio to a hibachi grill. Set up the hibachi out there for him. Talk to us about the weekend, Coach. What was it like?
Oh man, it was great. We had some elite players in here. Brought in some great 26s. Talked to them about how our philosophy on high school recruiting is that we want to bring high school kids in that can play immediately, and then we want to develop them for the NFL. We don't want to bring high school kids in that we've got to have them here for 2 years before we can get them on the field. We want guys that we feel like can get on the field immediately, and then we can develop them to the NFL, which is what our goal is. But yeah, we had a great weekend, man. Shout out to our recruiting staff for putting together just a super event this weekend. We started off Friday night with something we haven't done before, and we had the hibachi grills out on the third floor outside the Champion Center, overlooking the stadium, looking in the mountains. What a great view. The hibachi chefs put on a great show, and I thought it was just a really great way to kick off the weekend. And then of course, we did our regular thing on Saturday with touring them through the facility, taking them through all the different areas that they will be involved in. Academics, strength and conditioning, training room, talking to Coach Prime and everything, talking with, doing their position coach meetings and stuff, coordinator meetings. And then, man, we had a great photo shoot. Got the Prime Mobile involved in this photo shoot this weekend. Had the kids, all of them was asking about those pictures. They wanted to be on Coach Prime's golf cart. So our creative staff group made that happen. And man, it was awesome. And then, Saturday night, we went down to Denver, ate at the Yardbird, hung out. Man, it was a great night. Got to sit down and really talk with a lot of the parents and just, enjoy wrap up a great weekend. And, I tell you what, another thing that a lot of people don't realize, this is graduation weekend here in Boulder. So we had to do some creative things to make it to where, just getting hotels was an issue, So great. Our guys did a great job. Our personnel department did a great job setting this event up. And we couldn't have been happier with the kids that came in. Like I say, every kid that was here this weekend would be an immediate impact player for us if they were to sign with us. And, we did have a couple portal guys as well. And so, yeah, it was just a great event, positive thing for us. And our coaches and our staff and everyone just did a tremendous job. And I thought it was a success.
Yes, indeed. Dukes, when he said 26s, he wasn't talking about rims. He was talking about the recruiting class from the class of 26. I'm just joking.
I told you day in the day for Dukes now. I try to tell you.
It's just a joke, though. I'm just joking. That's all. Come on, Dukes. You up next.
Oh, hey, Coach, look, I talked to a prominent guy in the front office of a college team this weekend, and they talked about your influence and how you're able to relate. What is it about what is it about your recruiting style that enables you to endear yourself to players? Like I don't know, is it because of your experience at the high school level? I don't know what, or being in South Georgia, but I talked to a guy, you know who I'm talking about too. I talked to a guy who's really pretty up there, and he said, "Hey man, Coach Pollock, he the one." What made him say that?
Well, I tell you what, I do think it has a lot to do with how I was raised, where I was grew up, and just coming up in a small South Georgia town. I had a lot of friends that my football teammates, my baseball teammates, and we hung out together. And then, of course, just going to college at Georgia, and then coaching in the state of Georgia. I've always coached in places that had less Larry Birds and more Michael Jordans, if you know what I mean. And I enjoy, and that's who I played with. When I was in high school, that's what I mean. Listen, I was the only white dude on the team that even practiced defense.
Right.
So I mean, but all of my friends, I've just been used to. I've always hung out with African American guys, and I even when I was in college, and then when I've coached, that's kind of the players that I've kind of migrated to. And I mean, white guys too, but still, I think I know how to relate. I know how the guys were raised. I know how they came up. I've been in their neighborhood. I had a hood pass. See, only Georgia people know what a hood pass is, man. See, I had a hood pass growing up. So, I mean, I just think it's a deal where, I've always tried to get to know my players and understand where they come from, and understand the challenges they face at home. And, I think that's helped me on the recruiting trail, because, when you know where people come from, you know where they play, and you know what they're looking for in a coach and in a program. And I just think it's I've been blessed to have that relatability and have those experiences, and to really have myself subjected to a lot of different backgrounds with people, and understanding where they come from, and how they operate based off their background. I mean, I grew up. Listen, my folks wasn't rich by no means. We were working people coming up. We were hard working people. But my dad, he coached Pee Wee football, and he'd load all my teammates up on the back of his truck and take them home. So I mean, that's just, I've just, like I say, I've just came up a certain way with certain ideals and certain beliefs and certain values, and I think I've held true to those values as an adult, and I think it helps me relate to kids that we want to play for us, because we want smart, tough, fast, disciplined kids with character. And to be smart, tough, fast, and disciplined with character, you have to have some calluses on your hands, and you have to put in that work. And I was like I say, I've been blessed that, like, when I was in high school coaching, I was blessed to coach some very hardworking kids in some schools that were poor rural schools, that only thing you had going on Friday night was football, and those kids loved it. Their brothers played, their uncles played, their daddies played, their granddaddies played, and they were all there on the fence and in the stands watching. And you felt like they were passing on a legacy to their son and grandson, and it was special for me to be a part of that. And like I say, I'm excited that I can be a real guy, and I think it's important that when you talk to kids, you talk to parents, you do keep it real, because you don't want to tell them, you don't want to be one guy on the recruiting trail and then be a different dude when they get here.
Man,
that ain't fair to them. It ain't fair to you, and you're not going to be successful doing that, because they going to see something totally different, and you're not going to get the best out of that kid, because he's going to be like, man, where was that guy that was recruiting me? Where's that guy at? And a lot of coaches, unfortunately, they do that. They are one person on the recruiting trail, and they're different. That's one thing about Coach Prime. He tells us, keep it 100. Let them know how it's going to be when they get here, because he don't want any surprises. He don't want them to be surprised, and he don't want to be surprised. And I think that's how I feel too. I want to know what I'm getting. I want them to know what they're getting. And that's how we're going to do it. We're going to keep it real. We're going to be honest with them. And we're going to let them know everything we can let them know. So when they get here, they can hit the ground running, and they don't have a learning curve when they start.
Right.
A real live legend in the city now. Like, yeah, like they know Coach P. Like I'm on the
appreciate
south
it.
side. Yeah, he know. Yeah, for sure.
I appreciate. Hey, listen, I love the city, man. I love the ATL. I love
Yeah,
everything about my home state. Hey,
yeah.
don't let them boys on the West Coast bother you, man. They don't know. They don't know.
My dog.
That goes a long way with the recruits, though. Once they come in and they understand that, hey, man, this is the same guy that's been recruiting me, so it wasn't no lies being told. This is him.
Right,
It goes a long way with these recruits. It goes a long way, especially in the transfer portal day, where
right.
these guys can jump into the transfer portal now, especially if you have been hitting them with the okey doke, meaning that
That's
you are
right.
this person, and then now you're showing up to be that
No
person.
doubt.
You
And
know,
I'm gonna tell
yes,
you
indeed.
something. A lot of people, I know we talk NIL, we talk transfer portal and all this thing. But let me tell you something right now. You when you talk, and I'm gonna speak to Georgia kids right now, but it's Florida kids, Texas kids all over.
Mm-hmm.
When you still have to get to mama. You still
Yeah.
have got to convince mama that she's dropping her baby off at the right place. That
Mm.
bag of money don't mean anything to her if she's dropping her baby off at the wrong place. So
Yep.
you
Mm.
got to keep it. You got to keep it real with her, and mama can see through BS.
He ain't lying.
She can see through BS. She got a big BS meter.
Coach, speaking of mama, there's a lot of comments in the chat thanking you for the Mother's Day wishes the other day and your support of the CU aunties. There's also some people in the chat saying they can hear a little Dusty Rose in you. So I know you'd appreciate that. Coach, here recently, a lot of our guys have transitioned on to the NFL, and there's still been some shots shot at some of them, but you stepped out there as a former offensive coordinator and quarterback coach, even back since Jack State of Shador. Why was it important for you to set the record straight as a former coach on what kind of person Shador Sanders is and who these teams passed up on and who the Browns, ultimately got? Why was that important for you as his former coach to do that?
Well, I just felt like it was my job to set the record straight from my knowledge. He's my guy. I coached him. I feel like that about all my players. And sometimes as a coach, when you see things being said about a young man that not to be true, you have to step up and just say something. Because being silent isn't the right thing to do in those situations, especially when you're a mentor, a coach, and supposed to be a role model in that person's life.
Mm.
It started with bothering me that I was hearing things come out of these supposedly private NFL meetings about things that Shador has supposedly done. And I'm like, I've been in meetings with him for 4 years. He's never displayed any of those behaviors, any of that action that they tried to portray. And I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna call the NFL out a little bit right here. It's kind of funny to me how the prank call that got the Falcons and the D coordinator fined by the kid, which was a very stupid thing for a kid to do, or a young man. He's not really a kid anymore. He's a young man. He knows better.
Right.
And we're gonna find the Falcons and his dad for something like that, which were appropriate to do. But then we've got these anonymous sources coming out of these supposed private meetings and spreading false news about a draft pick, a prospect. And to me, I mean, you guys are in business. If you're in a private meeting, I know this as a coach. If I'm in a private meeting with Coach Prime and then I go to the news media as an anonymous source with it,
Be your
I'm
last
running the
damn
risk of
meeting.
losing my job.
Be
You
your
Yeah.
know,
last damn meeting. I tell you
you
that.
dang exactly. And it's mighty. It seems to me like the NFL is kind of just brushing that up under the rug and not really looking at why is it okay for someone in any organization to come out, especially as an anonymous source, you
Mm.
know, and say something that could cost, listen, the phone call prank was a it was an embarrassing, it was a situation where it was uncomfortable for a little while and embarrassing probably, but when you're talking about someone coming out and making accusations and not putting their name on it and not admitting, hey, yeah, I'm the guy that said it, this is what I saw, you know you're costing a guy millions of dollars.
Yeah.
That's to me, that's a lot more than a little embarrassment, you know, and that's a lot more serious. And to me, the NFL needs to really look into this, because it's not right to be in here and making accusations and making claims that are unsubstantiated. And then, you know, I'll tell you another thing. When reports come out that have head coaches' names on them in the NFL, and then he gets asked about it in the news media, and he just kind of blows over it and tries to act like it's no big deal, or that we don't want to talk about that. No, it's out. You need to talk about it. It shouldn't have got out. Someone in your organization let it out. So you need to answer the question. You responsible for the organization. You the head coach. I guarantee you, if one of us coaches did anything like that, and Coach Prime was asked that question, I mean, he would have to answer that question, and he would answer that question, you know? So, you know, I think there's just was a lot of shady dealings going on with it. And I think a lot of people, honestly, were a little afraid for their own futures if they were to do something, to make a certain choice. And, all of that will come out as well.
Yeah, Coach, man, very, very candid talk with there. Appreciate that. My good man, attorney Hal Dawkins here at Jackson. He said, Coach is office mates with Uncle Neely, so his hood pass is about to become life membership.
No doubt. No doubt, man. No doubt.
You in there, Coach. One thing that back at Jack State, see, I got my J baseball hat on. Jack State taking on Southern this weekend for that final spot in the SWAC championship. But I got to tell you this, Coach. We used to call you during this phase of the year the dog catcher, because you would leave Mississippi, hit that recruit trail, and you would come back with some dogs. So it's some validity to what Dukes is saying about your reputation in Georgia, particularly amongst those high school coaches, because being a former high school AD, a lot of folks don't know that. Being a former high school head coach in Georgia, a lot of folks forget that about you. You know what mama needs and wants to hear, and what the head coach is there to give you access, to their buildings when you travel. So talk to us about just cultivating those relationships, man, not just in Georgia, but anywhere that you hit the recruiting trail.
Right. Well, I tell you what, when you're in a state like Georgia, Texas, Alabama, places like, especially in the South, the high school head coach is going to be a very important figure that you need to develop a relationship with. And you really should do it in any state. But I'm telling you, down there, you can really, really ruffle some feathers if you start recruiting kids and you're not including the head coach in the recruiting process, letting him know what's going on, talking to him, because he's going to have players down the line that you're going to need his help with, And a lot of time, I'm going to tell you something, for you to be a good high school head coach, you have got to have earned the respect of mom and daddy. And so they're going to ask him questions as well about what he thinks. Maybe he don't make the decision, but they're going to ask him, "Hey, coach, what do you think about this school? What do you think about this program? What do you think about this coach?" Stuff like that. And you just got to also always understand the importance of the parents, especially mama. She's really an important one. Not that the daddies aren't. The daddies are very important and everything, but you've got to cultivate that relationship with them. It's no different than being a high school head coach. You had to when I used to take a team out on the road on Friday night to play a game. We'd have 100 people on the bus, and I always reminded my coaches, "Hey, listen, we got 100 mamas worried about their baby right now and riding this bus, making sure we're going to get them to the game and get them back home safe. So we need to be on our P's and Q's. We need to make sure we're on point and we don't overlook anything. And we make sure that they can trust us to take their baby out of town and bring them back home." And it's the same way with college recruiting. You got to let folks know they can trust you and that they can rely on you to be honest with them and be straight up and just treat their kid right, and give their kid a fair shot that you promised them.
Yeah. Coach, any recruits that stand out that you can talk about, or
You
any?
can't talk about recruits.
Can't talk about the recruits.
I can't name any recruits, but let's just know this: we had some elite dudes, elite dudes.
Yeah.
So
Get ready for that. Get ready for it.
We are very excited about the group of young men that we've brought in the last 2 weekends. It's been a really good cycle for us. We're sending coaches on the road right now to follow up with some of these guys. And you know, we've expanded out. We're the nationwide recruiting, and I tell you what, you know, we're looking forward to landing some of these 26 kids and getting them in Colorado Buffs gear and getting them on the field really fast.
I will say this,
Hey,
Coach
real quick.
Pollock, and
Go ahead, Unc.
I'll say this, Coach Pollock, and to what Chico asked, you know, this is that time of year that you can't disclose, you know, players because they haven't signed
Right.
yet. And then a lot of times when you're dealing with the portal, even the portal doesn't matter until they either practice or go to class. You know, they still got
That's
the right
right.
to back out of that deal as well. But having said all of that, man, when you look at the totality was taking place in Colorado since Coach Prime arrived there, look at the caliber of players that have been brought in. One of the things just blows me away when the other folks try to say Coach Prime doesn't do any, you know, home visits without recognizing that Coach Prime is Deion Sanders. He can't do home visits.
Right.
But we have just the bulk of our players. They don't want you to come to them. They want to come see what they've been seeing these videos. They
That's
want
right.
to Chef Solomon. They want to see the flat irons. They want to go through the Thunder Chute and walk out there onto Folsom Field. And here's a fun fact for you, Dukes and Chico. Players that sit in that recruiting lounge where we've done shows from, 92% sign rate when they sit in that recruiting lounge and meet with Coach Prime.
That's
And so
crazy.
we have much bigger success by bringing people to us
Right.
than other people have going to people.
Yeah.
Man, that's crazy, man. Hey,
Well,
real quick.
you know, you talking about a guy that's one of the most 20 recognized people in the world. You know, you're not talking about an average head coach, and so the amount of security, the amount of measures you'd have to take for him to go on the road like that would just be incredible. And Neely's
And
right.
Coach,
You
the
know,
ripple effect of him stopping by house A1 and not going by house A2.
no doubt.
Where's it in? Like, it's one of those
That's
things
right.
where if he was to visit one or two guys and not visit 3, 4, and 5,
Right.
like it's not the risk reward. Like Chico, like my grandmama told me to tell you, the juice ain't worth the squeeze. Like, you
That's
got to
right.
find another way to do that.
That's right.
Chico, what you
But you're exactly right. Them kids love coming out here to Colorado. They love seeing what it's all about. A lot of them have never been to a place like this. They've never been outside their area, and you know they know the schools that are within driving distance of their home, and they've seen those. But to get on the plane, get off, and come and see what you see on YouTube, what you see every day through all the social media that we get out, to actually sit in these rooms that you see and stand on that field and you know, also, you know, I mean, let's face it, you know, especially the last couple of years, and of course we certainly hope for this continues, but a lot of these kids want to come out here. They want to meet Shedeur Sanders. They want to meet Travis Hunter. They want to meet those guys. We couldn't do that if we went to them as much. So yeah, it's great that we're able to bring them out here and show them what they see on social media and in TV.
So let's speaking of seeing on social media, let me say this to my man, Big Dog Chico. Chico, when I talk about the juice not being worth the squeeze, you need to squeeze this way, not this way. See, when you on TV doing
Coach
that,
Pollock said he didn't
instead
want
of
to say
doing
that.
that, like Chico, it's a whole different. We can't even clip that and promote it now because you over there cranking this thing, and we
It's a jackfruit. It's a jackfruit or
Oh.
something, man. You know, it's a tropical fruit. Y'all got to come on, man.
Coach, you saw him at the corner. Yeah, I know you saw him, Coach. You were like, what the hell
Coach
is he
P said
doing?
I wasn't gonna say that, man. God dang, Coach. You too,
Got
Coach.
got a member comment from Ella Nisa. Ella Nisa says, as a parent, I would rather visit the school than the coach come to my house. I want to see where my kid is potentially going to school. In other words, I know what my damn living room look like. I want to see what your living room look like.
Exactly.
Well, you know what? That's what Coach Prime says. That he says, you know, when he was being recruited, his mama, she wanted to see where he was going to eat and where he was going to sleep. And that's what these parents want to see. They want to see where my baby's going to eat, where he's going to sleep, where he's going to be attending classes, where he's going to be practicing, where he's going to be meeting, all those things. They want to see the environment. They want to ride through the city. They want to make sure the city is a safe place for him to be, you know. She's exactly right. That's what parents want to see. So that's why we get them out here on campus, and we can these comments are killing me, man. Hey, I tried to talk, and I'm reading jackfruit, man.
Hey, Coach, I know how it is, dog. I know how it is.
But anyway, yeah. So that's a great way to look at it, and that's exactly how we look at it.
Hey, real quick, man. All right, Chico, Coach. Everything has been said. We're gonna wash away. All right, cool. Chico, now, without question, Chico literally was a power 5, power 4 type guy, right? Got recruited by a lot of guys. Like we could joke all we want to, but man, Chico really played some ball. And I know people that know Chico, and they say, yeah, Chico can really, he can hoop. And now they say hooping and basketball and football the same thing, right? Chico, if you were coming out right now, what would you want in the school? Just give me 3 or 4 things. And Coach, I want you to, when you hear Chico, tell them how that could work at Colorado.
Absolutely.
What I would want, man, for one, I would want to be coached by some guys who've been in the NFL, some guys who played the game before, some guys who's going to try to get me, because that's my goal. I'm trying to get to the league. I'm going to go with some guys who've been there before. That's 1. 2, nice campus environment where I'm going to sleep. 3, of course, my mom going to say the education. What's the education like? So those 3 things, and I'm good to go.
All right, Coach, how do you recruit a guy like that?
Well, the first one's obvious. We got 3 guys that got a gold jacket, didn't have to buy one. And we got about 3 or 4 more guys. We got at least 4 more guys off the top of my head that have played in the league, and then a couple more that have coached in the league that didn't play in the league, but they coached in it for a long time. I mean, both of our offensive defensive coordinators have coached in the NFL. Our receiver coach, our running back coach have played in the NFL. We got 2 D-line coaches that have played in the NFL. And of course, we got our head coach, who's the GOAT. And, our corner coach, he's played in the NFL. I'm trying to think. I mean, listen, we got 2 offensive line coaches that have played in the NFL. I mean, not only have they played in the NFL, not only do we have 3 gold jackets, but I think we have either 4 or 5 Super Bowl rings.
Ooh.
Okay. So that's something we don't talk about a lot. Like, we got 4 or 5, because I know Marshall's got 1, Coach Prime's got 1, Coach Hageman's got 1. I know them 3. And Coach Sapp's got 1. I know he got, and I'm trying to think, there may be 1 more out there that's got 1. I just can't think of it right now. But they can't, a lot of folks say they got 4 or 5, which Coach Prime got 2. So I guess that does count as 5. But anyway, so like I say, it's a deal where, you've got a tremendous amount, not just experience, but successful experience. And let me tell you something else about these men. Not only were they good football players, great football players, not only did they play at the highest level, but they're great businessmen as well. They can teach a young man that's making a lot of money how to handle his money, and how to to make smart business decisions, and also smart personal decisions, because they know the temptations and the things that go on in the NFL that can get you sideways. So that's great experience to have. As far as the campus beauty, I tell you what, you can go on social media right now and list the top 10 campuses. You could probably ask ChatGPT, and I promise you the University of Colorado is going to be in the top 10, if not the top 5. I have not seen any rankings of campuses in which the University of Colorado has not been in the top 10. Like I say, you go ask ChatGPT, you could ask Google, you could ask them all, and I promise you, there's nothing. I mean, all I got to do is walk outside about 10 feet right now, and I'm looking at the most beautiful scenery you ever want to look at over this stadium. And the campus here is immaculate. Like, Coach Prime and I and Coach Phillips, we walk around the campus when the weather's nice, at least, several times a week to get a little exercise. And You never see trash on the ground. You never see grass that needs to be cut. I don't know when they cut the grass around here. It stays the same length all the time. They must cut it at night when everybody's asleep, because I'm telling you right now, I never see them working out there because it's always beautiful. There's never any trash on the ground. The flower beds are immaculate. The sidewalks are swept off. Our students really have a clean environment that they live in on this campus, and it's a beautiful environment. And third, academically, I can tell you, anybody that will tell you out here, Colorado's academics don't take a back door to anybody. We've got some great programs out here. There's it's tough to get in academically, but I tell you what, you're going to get a great education, and you're going to get an education that means something, and it's going to help you get a job in life.
Yes, indeed.
Coach, I tell you this, man, ESPN on this recruiting tip, they just dropped the top 25 of who's been successful out there. This ranking is the top 25 groups of newcomers, recruits, and transfers combined, based on who could see the most impactful immediate returns for that 2025 season. Like you started off this episode with when you joined us, that when you go out and recruit high schoolers, you recruit high schoolers that can play now. So in that top 25, they got 1, the Oregon Ducks, 2, LSU. Then it goes 3, Auburn Tigers, 4, Texas Longhorns, 6, the Red Raiders of Texas Tech, 6, again, Ole Miss, 7, Ohio State. And then it's 8, Miami Hurricanes, 9, the Michigan Wolverines. And here we come, 10, Missouri Tigers, 11, South Carolina, and 12, the Colorado Buffaloes. When you hear what Coach Prime is just in his 3rd season in now, you talk about those blue blood programs who've been out there recruiting to be 12 out of 25 from this ESPN ranking. It talks about the Julian Lewis coming, and Quentin Gibson and Quanell Farrakhan Jr.,
Right.
et cetera. What do you see for this 2025 season for the guys that will be here and be playing, the impact that they're going to have on this season?
Well, I'll tell you something else that's impressive too. Those schools you mentioned ahead of us, they have a lot bigger recruiting budget and a lot more NIL money out there floating around than we do. So we doing a lot. We doing a lot more with less money. And I'd love to, if you gave Coach Prime the budget some of those had, it'd be game over. Game would be over. But even without that, he's proven he doesn't need that. We don't need all that. We can do it, and because we're selling a bigger dream than NIL. We're selling the dream of the NFL. We're selling the dream of graduating from this university and going out and being a successful businessman. So that's how we're doing it. But hey, listen, I tell you what, it's kind of funny because last night I happened to click on a video link that recapped the TCU game. And it had the Fox Sports announcers calling the game, and it was just basically highlights. And it brought me back to, what everybody was saying when we first got started, and where we started and where we are now is light years difference. And, it just shows you what kind of leader Coach Prime is, shows you what kind of guys he's brought in here, what kind of players we've been able to attract, and the commitment that they've had to winning. And, it's when you've got a leader that his philosophy is to win now. He's not waiting around and having all those excuses about why we can't do it now. He's not an excuse maker. He wants us to fix those problems and make them non-issues, and that's what we've done. And to be mentioned with those other 11 schools is truly a credit to what's been able to go on here. And it certainly shows why he just signed that contract he signed.
Yep. Undone.
Well, if we had a sound man, he would have put some kind of explosion or something right there. Something,
I mean, they ought to have the flames shooting up right now.
Hey, we're going to have to hire somebody other than Manny, the sound man, for that one right there.
Yeah, first, we got to fire Manny. Coach Pollock, man, it's been a pleasure having you on the morning run once again. We're going to all be back together the first 2 weeks of June for the camps taking place. As we get you out of here, man, talk to us about those community camps the first week in June. the elite camps all the way to the women camps and
Right.
the process and how forward you guys look to host these people for the camps.
Well, we're excited about the first 3 weeks of June for our camp season. Like you said, we've got elite camp coming up. We also got the post-grad camp coming up, which is a big deal for us. And then we got the little kids camp, which is going to be about 1,000 deep again. And we're going to have the women's clinic again, which we're doing some things. We're trying to, that was a success for us last year in this inaugural year. And we're doing some things to make that even better this year. And then we're going to wrap it up with the third week of June. And we're going to have a June 18th, we're going to have a 7-on-7 tournament. We're going to have a specialist camp and an OLDL camp all in the same day. And I'm going to tell you what, that's one of my favorite days because it's busy. There's a lot of work goes into it. Even though I'm special teams coordinator, they kind of put me in charge of organizing the 7-on-7 camp. And so I'm anybody out there that's got an elite 7-on-7 team or a high school team that wants to come, hit me up. We want the best players in the country to come and display themselves for us. That's a day that our coaches just can walk around and watch players work with their teammates, with their high school teammates, with their high school coaches, or with their 7-on-7 teammates and coaches. And it just gives us it's a great talent evaluation day, but we also get to see how you interact with your teammates and your coaches, which tells us a lot, and so it's a great opportunity for us. That June 18th is a huge day. It's a great way to end our camp season. And like I say, we're just excited about the first 3 weeks of June and what it's going to mean for our program, for not only an exposure standpoint, but an opportunity for us to see some elite talent. Hey, I'm just telling you, last year at the elite camp, Coach Prime offered a kid that's going to be here this summer on the spot, right there on the spot. We were not recruiting that kid at all. He was not on our radar. He came here. He showed out. Coach Prime walked out there. He offered that kid. That kid committed. He signed with us in 2025, and he starts school in June. So listen, Don't think that you're just coming out here to any regular camp. The head man will be watching, and if you show what you can do in front of him, he will get you out here.
And when the head man is always watching, but if I find a moment that he's not watching at the women's camp, I'm offering me a scholarship this year.
Coach P, I was going to go where you were going with that. I was going to ask that question, but you answered it, and which is really, it happened to me, not to try to myself, but it happened to me at Georgia camp, going through drills. Coach walked over and said, "Hey, coach, we got one right here," and they'll offer you a scholarship right there. I was going to go and try to help out for anybody who might be on the fringe of thinking about going or coming to the camp. Here's why you should, because you can get offered right there at the camp going through drills and such.
That's right.
Well, that's what you guys are looking for out there, right?
Yes, absolutely. That's why you're having the camps. We want to be able to bring players on. There's a lot of football players in this country, and it's hard to see everybody. And sometimes you just find one that he shows up, you didn't know about him, and you end up finding a really good player. And that's what we're hoping to find. That's what Coach Prime wants. And so like I say, if you're one of those guys and you think you've got an opportunity to play at a school like this, and you want a chance to be seen by a coach, trust me, coming to camp is better than any Twitter DM. I promise you that.
100%.
All right, Coach, for real, before we let you get out of here, we got a super chat that was directed at you, Reverend BJ Nelson. Appreciate your support as always and membership. $5 super chat from Rev. He said, "Coach P, what are your thoughts on where the drafted players will go, what they'll do in the NFL this season?"
Oh man, I think we got the drafted guys are going to do great. We got Shedeur. I mean, heck, he's already making an impact in Cleveland. He's staying late. It's funny they cover Shedeur staying late at practice. Like that's some news. Anybody that knows him knows that's what he's always done. He's just doing what he does. And of course, Jimmy
Uncle
and
Neely
LeJohntay
said that last night.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's crazy. But anyway, like Jimmy and LeJohntay, I think they're going to do great. They're two very special players. that got drafted. And then from what I understand, our undrafted free agents are already signing contracts, getting money. And, that's a good sign. So that's what we want. And I think I think we got 13 guys in camp right now, So that's a great thing for us. Think about this now. Think about this. We got 13 guys in NFL camp 3 years after a team went 1-11 and got beat by an average of 30-something points a game.
Come on,
what a sound man at.
Mm-hmm.
So put that in perspective. There you go. There you go.
Hey, Coach, you and I I'm going to let you go. You and I can say this about Shedeur, and people may not believe it because they say that, oh, man, of course y'all will say that. Coach, when you're leaving practice and we're down there on the lower fields, there's always this white guy with his little dog on that bridge. And he's in the chat. His name is Dennis. And Dennis is verifying that Shedeur always stays late. Because if you're on that bridge, Shedeur going to be one of the last people to leave practice every day.
No doubt.
And Dennis.
No doubt at all. He's got that kind of work ethic.
Coach, we appreciate you, brother. You're not going to be a stranger. We're going to have you back on soon. Coach Michael Pollock, special teams coordinator, didn't do nothing but kick ass today. He said he ain't taking names.
Hey, I didn't do nothing. I came here for 2 reasons: to chew gum and kick ass, and I'm out of gum.
Man, what you talking about? Go ahead, Coach.
Fresh out of gum.
See y'all.
Appreciate you, Coach, once again.
Coach Michael Pollock, special teams coordinator, man, the dog catcher. That's my guy.
Coach P hard, bro.
Coach Mike P. Yeah, he answered the questions too, man. Especially with the recruiting like you set up. He make you want to go there right now. That's everything. Make you want to go right now. And then he added on the business part.
Rico, me, you, and Deuce had talked about this pre-draft. We talked about how we anticipated, 8 to 10 guys, to get drafted. But at no matter what, we anticipated, some 10 to 13 to make it to camps. And we sitting here right now with 13 in camps. And like Coach Pollock said, you look at Cameron Silman, Craig, Shiloh, both undrafted free agents have already signed their deals, anywhere around 2.9 to 3.2 mil. And so it just shows you how quickly things really turned around, under Coach Prime taking over Colorado, to have that many guys in what would have been the first year of his players, truly his players being draft eligible. You got 13 in camp right now.
Yeah.
Nah, man.